Hello to all of you YouTubers out there. This is NewYorkSteelo with yet another video, and today we're going to be talking about protein skimmers versus refugiums. And the reason why I'm making this video is because there's so many of you who have been contacting me with many different problems, with their system, either nitrates or phosphates or different situations with your systems. And there's one thing that I want to tell you right off the bat: no one system is the same as the other. So for example, one person contacted me and asked me, well, how many fishes do you have in your 90-gallon system? And I'm like, well, I have 17 fishes. And they're like, well, I have the same amount of fishes, but I've got a severe nitrate problem, And I'm like, well, what filtration system do you have? They're like, well, I have a protein skimmer. And I'm like, well, so, and I tell them to get a Refugium or a better protein skimmer, but what we're going to do in this video is that I'm going to break down the differences between the two, and I'm also going to explain to you why is it that I would not run any kind of saltwater system, whether it be a fish-only system or a coral-dominated saltwater fish tank reef. I would not run a system without one or the other of this filtration. If I'm going to run this system, I'm going to set it up with a protein skimmer and a Refugium. And the reason for that is because each filtration system, both protein skimmers and Refugiums, have their flaws. They have their goods and they have their bads. And this is why I want to break down both of you so that you can understand what is the main reason why I set up the system in the way that I did, and why is it that I'm successful in keeping so many fishes, and my system doesn't suffer from nitrate problems and the such. So first, let's talk about a protein skimmer. Now, this is of course my protein skimmer, Aqua CEV 240. And the problem with a protein skimmer is that a protein skimmer is a great filtration system and should be the heart of your filtration system, but it has its flaws. And the problem with a protein skimmer is that it only really removes about 30% of the undissolved organic matter. So what happens to the other 70% of this undissolved organic matter in your system is that it gets broken down by the bacteria into into ammonia, nitrite, and then nitrate. So that's where the skimmer stops. The skimmer doesn't really remove nitrates from your system. The skimmer's main objective is to remove these organics before they get broken down into nitrates. So it is very important for you to run a system with a protein skimmer for the simple fact that it'll remove these organics before they get broken down into nitrates. But that's where it stops. A protein skimmer is very efficient filtration system and should be a part of your filtration system, not your only filtration system. If you want, and this is based on my opinion, guys, if you really want to be successful in keeping a saltwater aquarium, just know off the back that there are a lot of arguments out there, but this is just my opinion. So basically, we've established that a protein skimmer will work for you in that it'll remove these organics before they get broken down into nitrates, and that's basically where it ends. And the problem with it, we've also established that it will only remove about 30% of these organics. And the reason why it does that, the reason why it only removes 30% of these organics is because the skimmer can only pull in so much gunk out of the system, while the bacteria is working really hard into turning waste into ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. And this is where a Refugium comes in. The Refugium itself is an excellent filtration system, but it has its flaws, just like a protein skimmer. So basically what the Refugium does is that it does not remove the undissolved. It actually does. It removes undissolved organic matter via the chaetomorpha, or the algae that you have. This this algae will eat everything. It'll eat ammonia, it'll eat nitrites, it'll eat nitrates, it'll eat phosphates. Every single bad nutrient that exists in a saltwater system is going to be consumed by the algae. However, it can only do so much, which is the reason why a protein skimmer is needed alongside it, so that they can work together to help you maintain a really good filtration system. Now, another flaw with, let's say that we were running a system with just a Refugium and we would not have a protein skimmer. What happens is that, yes, your system will survive. And this is why people like Miracle Mud, they claim that you can run a system without a protein skimmer. And you can, because eventually your system will survive, because nature kicks in and takes over and does whatever it needs to do in order for your system to survive. Whether it be growing cyanobacteria to remove phosphates, many diatoms to remove nitrates or silicates and stuff like that. So basically your system will survive. But one flaw that a Refugium has is that if you do not incorporate a protein skimmer, what happens is that some of this undissolved organic matter tends to form on the surface of the water of your entire system. So if many of you who do not have a protein skimmer, witness some of this scum that forms in the surface of the water. I'm not sure if you can see that there, but there is some scum there. Not too much, but that's because there's a lack of water movement. But despite the amount of water movement that you have in your system, if you incorporate just a Refugium, what happens is that some of this organics are going to settle on the surface of the water. And here is where a protein skimmer comes into play, where your system uses an overflow box, delivers that gunk and that slimy scum that forms on the surface of the water into your sump area, and gets processed by the protein skimmer and gets pulled out. As you can see here, it's starting to build up already. So, many questions have been sent out to me asking me, I have this system, and the first thing I tell them is, well, do understand that if you don't have a natural way to remove these nitrates, for example, but via the use of a Refugium, then you're going to have to rely on very large water changes to cut down on your nitrates, especially if your system is overstocked. So basically, if you ask me this question, and the reason why I make these videos is to make my life a lot easier, so that I can just tell you, if you ask me a similar question and you were to come to me and tell me, well, I've got a protein skimmer, but I don't have, and that's my main filtration system, and I got a nitrate problem, the first thing I'm going to tell you is refer back to this video, so that you can, get a better understanding as to why it is that I would not run a saltwater filtration system without either one of these filtration methods. So I hope that I've covered it in detail, and hopefully you've understand. And I understand that many of you who have only a protein skimmer don't really have the space to add a Refugium. But once again, if you do not have a more natural way to remove these nitrates, you will rely on, massive water changes to cut down on the nitrates. And we all know that on a fish-only system, definitely you can run a system with about 60 ppm nitrates. It's not really going to affect the fishes, but high nitrates equals nuisance type algae. So your system is either going to be filled with hair algae and the such. So what I can tell you is that with this filtration system that you see here, which is a oversized protein skimmer, this Aqua CEV is rated for more than double my system size. And the reason for that is, that's why it is recommended for you to get a larger skimmer, is so that you can, because it only removes about 30% of these organics, getting a larger protein skimmer is going to work out better for you, and possibly remove a little more of those organics. So with this type of filtration system that you see here, I can tell you that I can go up to 6 months without water changes, and you won't see nitrates in my system at all. So this has just been a quick video on Protein Skimmer versus Refugium, and please understand, one will not work without the other, in my opinion and in my system. So with that said, I hope this has helped you out, and you can have a better understanding of how important both Refugiums are and Protein Skimmers. Stay tuned for future videos. I'm going to start making a video in a little while about some of my aquarium books and stuff, and we're going to flip through the pages, and I'm going to show you the contents inside, and hopefully you can get a better understanding of why it is that I know so much about this hobby, because I breathe, sleep, and everything I do is about this hobby. So stay tuned for future updates and many more videos to come. If you like my videos, guys, subscribe. This is NewYorkSteelo signing out. Hope the video has been helpful for you. Peace.